It's about damn time. Well, it is about damn time. I should have had this review done ages ago. But things happen, like my job picking up, and at the same time I injured my thumb somewhere along the line. And on top of the fact that I was also sick at one point. Needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, at least I feel a lot better so that I can finally get this review off of the backlog that I should have already had this done in June, if not July. Sorry about that in advance, but here we are now in the game that has been not only remastered twice, but remade, Persona 3. We're playing the up-to-date remake, which, needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, there is good in this game, and there is also bad in this game. One thing is perfectly clear. This is still a Persona game, and probably one of the most popular Persona games of all time, with the most popular being 4. And of course, Atlas is going to milk this shit to death. But we'll see how well this game does and if it's worth everything that pretty much came after, and also the remake that released 2 years ago. So on that note, get your evokers, aim it at your heads, and pull the trigger as we look into Persona 3 Reload. Let's go! As far as the story goes, if you've played Persona 3, Persona 3 FES, and Persona 3 Portable, this story follows the storyline of those games. You're playing as Makoto Yuki, or whatever you want to name him. You join Cease. You help Cease try to get rid of Tartarus in the Dark Hour because it's causing apathy syndrome, which more than likely would turn any normal citizen who has apathy syndrome into a brain-dead moron who can't tell if he's alive or dead. And moreover, you have social links with people who are trying to cope with their issues. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. At least the story is fully animated. And that's where my credit will stop there, because here is the thing. They released Persona 3 Portable 2 years before they released this game in 2023. So my question is, why didn't they make all the cutscenes available for P3 Portable? In fact, why didn't they just make the whole game with a new engine instead of just making the male side? That's my biggest gripe with the story by far, because there was a female side too, but they aren't going to give you the FemC because of lame corporate excuse. That's basically the gist. But whatever the case, at least, as you can see, it is fully rendered cutscenes, and it actually shows better cinematic quality than Persona 3 and Persona 3 FES. Again, while I give it some praise, my praise is in there because, like I said, the game is almost a one-to-one rendition of the story. There are changes, unnecessary changes that was added to the story. And needless to say, folks, those changes, we could have done without them. So, on that note, let's get the first elephant in the room out of the way. Operation Babe Hunt. I know the name was different in Japan because it was changed for the States originally. That I will let slide. The cutscene you're seeing? Yeah. They literally made a reference to Alex Jones and his conspiracy theories. And moreover, made her a saleswoman. This is the coward's way out. This is what happens when you hire 8 shit translators to translate a high-profile game. Especially if they happen to be activists. They will put in their poison and ruin what is essentially a funny scene. And by the way, this is literally before you meet Igus and Adder to the party. Moreover, they could have done anything. They could have put in Kashiwagi or even brought back the trans guy, but no. They stuck with this. I don't know what is Atlus's ordeal with trying to break the connection between the 3 games, because he already set it in with the dancing games and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Speaking of connections with Persona 3, 4, and 5, a terrible trend that Atlus tends to do is give villains a confidant rank, or any way to make them feel sympathy for the things they're about to do. Now, it was understandable with Adachi to an extent, because that social link turned out to be a sacrificial tease, and an ending you honest to God really didn't need to get, considering the fact that the end of the game, you're still gonna get the damn persona regardless. And as for Akechi, his was just a useless confidant rank that was in the way to try to make people feel sorry for the guy, even though he literally gave away what type of person he was when you mentioned something, or let me rephrase that, when Morgana mentioned something about delicious pancakes. And now we come to Takeya. Takeya is a murderer who is with 2 other people, Jin and Chidori, go around breaking people's coffins so that they can fall victim to the fall, shooting people who haven't been trapped in the coffins, or mercilessly assassinating people or making Shinji do their dirty work by having the only cure to prolong Shinji's life in the palm of their hands. And we have a link episode with these guys to try to have a better understanding of what he thinks. He is a nihilist. He is a murderer. This CM Punk looking motherfucker does not give 2 shits about human life and is constantly standing in your way to prevent you from stopping Tartarus from being destroyed. In fact, you fight this guy at least 4 times on your way up to the top of Tartarus. So why, oh why, are you giving a guy like Takeya a link episode? You get no benefit from this. Oh, wait, actually you do. You get a tougher fight with Takeya later on, but I'll talk about how the battle system is in this game later. But for now, the main focus is the story. And the story is, there is a chance for you to get a link episode with Takeya. Why? You don't need to know this backstory. All you know is the fucker is evil. He's randomly killing people. He killed Shinji. And moreover, he also is responsible for the death of Ken's mother. Needless to say, there is no reason for this to be in the game. It's just delaying the inevitable when you're actually going after him in Tartarus. There is no reason, but I think it's safe to say that this nihilist over here, he basically is an experiment. That's all you need to know. An experiment by Itsuki, the main villain. One of them. And, in all intents and purposes, the game already tells you this right before you face him the final time in Tartarus, in FES, and in P3P. So there's no reason for this Link episode whatsoever. It makes my blood boil that Atlas tends to do this and you get nothing from it. Why do they do this sort of thing? Why? I am baffled. I know you're trying to see a way to make the villain join your side or at least repent on their actions, but this guy doesn't care. Wonder what happens to him at the end of the game? He kills himself. That's what happens. He doesn't freaking care. So why? Why is there a Link episode with this guy? I don't get it! But the worst thing you could possibly do in order to literally make everyone angry with you is make the answer a DLC Season Pass. Mind you, let me remind everybody, Persona 3 Portable was released 2 years prior to this game, with the answer intact. The fans requested that the female character would not only be playable alongside the male, but also have her version of the answer. What did Atlas give them instead? A paywalled in-game content that adds a battle with Yu Narukami and Joker. It's bad enough that Sega started doing post-game content behind a paywall since Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. But then it sunk into Persona. You know, I had my biggest grievances with Royal because it was an overglorified update, and now they put the post-game that is important, that is relevant to the story, behind DLC. In all honesty, if you really want to just play the story from beginning to end, you don't even need the answer. Plain and simple, it's not worth you spending between $20 and $30. It literally isn't, because you get nothing from defeating those two optional bosses. Not even an achievement. But if you really want to try to get the answer, play P3P or FES. You're better off doing so. And with that said, let's move on to the As far as the sounds is concerned, let's start off with the music. Now it may sound definitely different than what you're used to hearing in Persona 3 FES and Portable, but they're good in their own right. I know it's not fair to make a comparison to the past games, but the music is still fantastic regardless, even though I prefer the past games over this soundtrack here, with the exception of maybe 3 songs. The first of which being Tanaka's Commodities. That song will always be a catchy beat and will always be my favorite song out of the Persona series. Mass Destruction, I mean, I prefer the FES version, but this one's pretty good too. But there's one song in particular that strikes out that was newly added to the game. And that song, ladies and gentlemen, is It's Going Down. The song you're listening to right now. And needless to say, folks, that is a really, really good song. And I love listening to it. And moreover, when you're in battle, the battle sounds have much more crunch to them, and moreover, they updated all of the walking and running animation sounds as well. So I gotta give them credit, they overhauled the sounds as well. And the voice acting is even 95% of the way voice acted, including but not limited to the end of Hermit.
Wait, you dropped something. What? Huh? This phone wallpaper.
Now, mister. No cell phones at school. That screen. I read downward. Love you. My! What a charming confession of love. Did you make this?
Your girlfriend? Never mind that. What's going on? Why do you have this screen cap? Oh, don't tell me you got it online. The only ones who were on that server were... No, it couldn't be. There's no way. Are you kidding?
No matter how many times I see that cutscene, it is fucking classic. And the fact that they voice it is absolutely hilarious. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I think now would be a good time to go on to... Normally I would talk about the graphics, but needless to say, there's no reason to talk about them because they're actually really good. So let's go on with the gameplay, which is 1 step forward and 2 steps back. 1 step forward. It's easier for you to teleport. You have no stamina system to worry about. But 2 steps back, you have things that can pretty much be locked out if certain days pass by. Like, for instance, missing persons return in Persona 3 Reload from Persona 3 Portable, and also, as you can see on your screen, monad doors, as well as monad passages. Monad doors and monad passages are the new thing in Reload, as you will end up fighting difficult enemies for more experience points. Moreover, you're not only going to be grinding in areas to get through the monad doors, you're also going to be grinding in order for you to get enough items to sell to Furukawa, because you don't have any money to earn from the dungeon except for Arcana cards. Why would you do that, Atlas? That is dumb. Moreover, you have the Theurgy now. You don't have fusion items. Theurgy, while it can be easily obtained by getting the fusion of the persona and moreover having a party member join your party, and it's going to have to be after a certain point of the game, but then the newest party member is going to end up learning Theurgy anyway. The fact is, these things can be spammable, and it will happen with Link episodes. And you may miss Link episodes, but you can still go back and deal with them thanks to the rewind system. You can also go back and get the missing persons thanks to the rewind system. While it only rewinds to, I think, only 90 days, still, you can use the rewind system to get missing stuff that you need. Which begs the question, what's the point of trying to attempt to have fake difficulty like Elizabeth, when in fact, the game, you can just literally run through this whole game on peaceful, and there's no need for you to raise difficulty, because again, you don't get money. You get stuff. You get coins through the coin card and that's it. But everything else, you just get stuff in Persona. You do have your confidant ranks, social links, sorry, wrong game. But they are locked behind social stat paywalls, which can go up to 6 for some stupid reason. If they weren't harder before, they were then. Oh, and never mind the fact that some chests needs Twilight Gems to open. Problem? Up until the recent update that happened about maybe earlier this year, Twilight Gems were scarce. Very, very scarce. So yeah, getting rare treasure is a pain in the ass. Oh, and by the way, again, difficulty doesn't matter because the game is designed to where difficulty does not matter. If you want a harder time and you need to focus and get a routine in management, you're better off playing Persona 3 Portable and FPS, because this game is literally baby's first Persona. And yeah, you do have certain things on your calendar to remind you of certain things so you'll be able to actually manage. Something you don't have in Persona 3 Portable. So again, if you really want a hard time, go to Persona 3 Portable. Oh wait, Fuka's got abilities here too, which takes charging time. Yeah, and also takes some of her SP, which can be used to scan enemies, even though you have to wait to scan enemies, because Fuka, for some reason, doesn't want to do that. So yeah, needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, while I do like the fact that they have improved gameplay, the gameplay kicks itself in the foot. It kicks itself in the foot, shin, and leg. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let us go to the rating. And with the pros and cons compiled, it is now time to rate this game. Persona 3 Reload will get the rating of good. It's not getting any higher than that, and for multiple reasons. First off, The Answer as DLC, along with DLC in general. There was no point in you doing that. You could have just had that all unlockable from the start. Removing money from Tartarus. Forcing people to grind and having RNG, regardless of the difficulty, to try to grind. Ruining Operation Babe Hunt. Yeah, that one really hurt too. Giving Takuya a Link episode. Yeah, this is why you don't listen to Reset Era, because, let's be honest, that made literally no sense. Also, by trying to change up the game, you basically hurt the difficulty, except for the optional bosses. And even then, you don't really need to take the optional bosses on because people just want to probably beat the game. And they won't get any fulfillment because you took the difficulty out. But more importantly, you tried to make a one-to-one remaster with a few changes of Persona 3 Portable, and yet, no FMC. You should have just gave everybody what they wanted, which was a remastered 3D version, complete with cutscenes, of Persona 3 Portable. That's what everybody wanted, but this is what you gave them. Granted, there's good voice acting, a good soundtrack, the battle system is pretty much on par with Persona 3 Portable with no stamina system, and the story is still the same good story from all the rest of the versions. It's still no excuse for how you handled this game. So with that said, good is all it's gonna get. And I will see you all in the next review. Take care, everyone.